Good morning and welcome back to the day after the night before. Let me just change this. I haven't changed this. Aye. There's a manager that has now become the number one favourite to get the Celtic job, but I'm going to tell you why I don't really think that he's the answer. With reports coming out of his home Knutsen. Shite heading. Right, so the two people that are now frontrunners for the Celtic manager's job. Let's get up sports. Sportscast, that's probably the best site for it. And we'll give you the live odds this morning. Because there's been a development late last night. There was a lot of chat last night about a certain manager being favourite and that the odds had closed. Now, Knutsen is now 3-1 this morning. He is 3-1 this morning with Kieran McKenna. But it's been alleged that Kieran McKenna has come out in private and said that he wants the Celtic job. So Celtic could have a two-horse race for the job. When you look at some of the other names that have been mentioned, Craig Bellamy, he's 14-1, Damien Duff, 14-1, Wilfred Nancy. Where's Robbie Keane? Because Robbie Keane's doing quite well in Europe with his club. They got a good result last night. Robbie Keane's 9-1. Sean Maloney's 16-1. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, no, please don't do that. Scott Brown's 18-1. Eric Ten Hag, 20-1. Would that even be a realist one? Roberto Martinez. Now, a lot of people have been talking about Roberto Martinez maybe coming in the summer, but after last night's performance in Europe, and Martin O'Neill saying, look, I'm just waiting for them to tell me that my time's up. I'm waiting for them. I'm counting down the days, he almost said. Martin O'Neill spoke last night about the transfer. He was asked about the impending transfer window coming up in January, and he was asked if he was taking part in any discussions on players for the future of the club, and he said no. He was then asked about the transfer window, is he thinking about it, and he said no. He said, look, I'm just waiting for them to phone me up. He was also asked, have you been part of any conversations about the Celtic future manager? He said no. And he asked, are you in daily contact with Dermot or the board? And he said no. He said, look, I'm just waiting for them to pick up the phone and say, thanks Martin, your time is done. We're going to announce a new manager tomorrow. With that being said, there is news coming out of the Bodo Clint camp. With regards to Knutsen, I mean, he's now 3-1 favourite. He jumped up last night. At one point, it looks as if the odds had been stopped on the next Celtic manager, but then they reappeared again as Knutsen was number one. I still want to go for McKenna. McKenna would be my ideal guy. He's younger. I mean, if we could do it, I'd go and steal the manager from Midtjylland, because they played some fantastic football. And if you didn't watch the reaction video last night, go back and watch that, because I dive into the cost of the squad for Midtjylland. And when you look how much their players cost, you're then thinking, and you've got to remember, Callum McGregor last night said that team were big physical athletes. That's what we should have at Celtic. It's definitely what we should have at Celtic. But anyway, Knutsen is up there as he's top of the bettings just now, and Kieran McKenna's number 3. I mean, the Michelin manager, you've got to have a look at the way that they do things, surely. Check out that video for last night, because it'll give you some food for thought today, and especially when you see the valuation and what they buy players at. Now, let's jump on to what's been said about Knutsen, because he's a manager, the Glint manager. There's headlines out in his homeland saying everyone is misunderstanding him. and he's starting to talk a bit like Brendan Rodgers for me. Several people have reacted when Knutsen criticised the tight match schedule before the Champions League match against Monaco on Wednesday. The coach began to say that he was going to announce was controversial, but nevertheless spoke out and criticised the. There's similarities between the negativity that's coming from the Bodo Glimt manager could potentially be on his way out of the club after all these years, and the negativity that came from Brendan Rodgers. I'm not too keen on that, and he is a bit older. He's 57. So a journalist that's covered the Bodo Glimt closely for several years says that Knutsen's frustration is well known. The match between Brann and Glimt were originally scheduled for the 28th of September and moved to the 28th of October. A number of matches been played over a short period of time. He's been complaining about that. The date for the match, he's been complaining about a lot of things. He's been complaining about the players over the last couple of weeks. The Glint's coach statements have thus sparked reactions in the environment of it's not good. If we go for him, I mean, he's been linked with us a few times, the Bodo Glimt manager, but I'm not too sure. There's too many red flags going off for me. There's just too many warning signs. We've been there with the previous coach. When you look at McKenna, he's a younger coach, and yes, he's never done nothing in the game, but can he? We need someone that can go out and find these athletic type of players that the Celtic captain said, look, they're a big athletic team. Celtic aren't. And that's the backroom staff that that need to... We could go on about this all morning, couldn't we? Especially with the players that have been brought in by the club. I mean, Celtic are all good at pushing out the feel-good factor of Martin O'Neill, and we've all went with it. You know, it has been refreshing having Martin O'Neill, but do we need to get a manager in quick now? That's the question for this morning. Let's do a little poll question. There's not a lot of people on live this morning, but we'll do a little poll. I was disappointed with the reaction of our players when the young and upcoming striker on. Yeah, Joseph, I was fucking devastated with that. If you watched the live last night, you would have seen. We have a business model right for the club, but that's a different story, says Scott. Yeah, I'll come to that in a minute. Let's get the poll question up. Considering we've got a transfer window coming up in January and we want to start, you can write this season off when it comes to Europe. I think. I don't think that a new manager is going to come in and change anything that's going to get us qualifying automatically or even in the top 24 by the looks of it. So do we need a new manager quick is the poll question. I mean, it's no disrespect to Martin O'Neill and the backroom staff. They've come in and steadied the ship. You know, Martin O'Neill was asked last night. He said, look, I'm just here to steady the ship. We need the boardroom restructuring. You've got to think about. I'm not backing the board on it, but you've got to look at the here and now and what's achievable now. You're not going to get rid of board members tomorrow. We need a new manager tomorrow. I know we need the boardroom restructuring, and I'm all for fresh ideas on the board because the board have gone stale. The board have gone really stale. But we need to think about what's the thing that we can change just now. Not one for not one player to go over to see Osman last night shows you the current mentality of the squad, yeah. And I think that, I mean, I made my thoughts clear on it live at the time. Marco Rose is the only one that would have Celtic playing this way for me. Would you not think that the Midtjylland manager and the way that his backroom staff are, and even the people that, when you look at the players that they got, and you look at the physicality of the players, there was lots of things that you could look at that team last night and you could say, that was that's a Brendan Rodgers-esque type of chat. Big, powerful, athletic players. And they're buying in players for between 700, 800, 900,000 up to 10 million. We're buying in players that's got to make up the Scottish quota, and we're buying them in at $1 million. No disrespect to Luke McCowan, but he's not a big physical athlete like these guys, are they? And that's what we need. That's what we need at Celtic. And not only just, look at the way the SPFL's going. How many teams in the SPFL now have just big, tall, physical players that aren't scared to get into a fight with Celtic players, that aren't scared to sort of, push their weight around? Teams aren't scared of Celtic anymore. Not in the SPFL, definitely not in a European context. They don't see Celtic as a powerhouse that they once were. And as much as we've enjoyed Martin O'Neill being here, and we've all enjoyed him in the tracksuits, and if the success keeps rolling in, I mean, you could write off the European campaign. Something that I never thought that anyone would ever say at Celtic. But Martin O'Neill said, look, this game came too quick for him. And there was other bad news last night, as Martin O'Neill did admit that Arne Engels also suffered an injury towards the end of the match, and that's why he came off. Arne Engels with a tightening of his hamstring, and Callum Osman stretchered off with his hamstring. He's going to be out. And was there a dig by Martin O'Neill last night to the previous manager? He was wary about how much game time that Dyson Maeda was going to get last night. He was mindful because they don't want him brought back too early in case there's a reoccurrence of an injury. The fact that the previous manager didn't play or give any game time to Alistair Johnson before an important game, which saw him stretchered off 20 minutes into the game, 25 minutes into the game. Was there a little dig by Martin O'Neill at Brendan Rodgers, bringing players back too quick? I mean, you can look at the career that Kieran Tierney's had. He had a few hamstrings when he was younger, and has that had an adverse effect on his career? What Martin O'Neill said last night, he said, look, it's the first time the young lads had that type of injury. What we have to do now is you have to manage them to such an extent that is up at 100% fitness. You can't bring him back so that you don't get the reoccurring of this type of injury, so that it doesn't affect his career. It was very interesting by Martin O'Neill. He said about Arne Engels, he says he was feeling his hamstring as well, so the game's coming thick and fast. We thought, we're going to take him off. We just dust ourselves down, said Martin O'Neill, and we get prepared mentally for a physical game on Sunday. Seems unlikely that the Belgian international will play this weekend. We've got cover with Luke McCowan. Paulo Bernardo came on last night. Paulo Bernardo, that needs game time to get up to speed. We're in November now. Paulo Bernardo's hardly kicked the ball since pre-season. Expecting a player to come in and be at full pace, match fitness wise. It's okay being fit on the training pitch, and you could talk about Celtic's fitness. We could talk about, for Martin O'Neill to come in and change the way that this squad is, and we had a manager who was always about fitness. He was always about fitness of the players and great pre-seasons. But the pre-season that we just had was a fucking shit show. there was excuse after excuse about, not having all the players there, only working with what we have. And I don't think that they got the players up to the fitness level that's required. And it's shown last night. Definitely shown last night. And with, the youth of today just getting taller, especially on the continent. You can have Rio Hitati mumping about at the end of the game, being totally dissatisfied the fact that he's not getting a full game. I think that there still is. All we've done over the last 2 weeks is put a sticking plaster on Celtic. The fact that we've got Jota out injured, Jota, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Alistair Johnston, Kelechi Iheanacho, Callum Osmond and Arne Engels now. That's 6 players. Yes, the hierarchy at the club need to take a good look at themselves. And hopefully we'll get a coach in. Hopefully the powers that be at Celtic get a coach in sooner rather than later. Because I think that as much as we all enjoy Martin O'Neill being here and it's fantastic and we can reminisce about the good times, the reality is we don't have the team that we had 25 years ago under Martin O'Neill. Poll question in, we've got 91 votes straight in. Do we need a new manager quick? 63% are saying yes, 37% are saying no. If you're saying no in the comments, Square sausage might be taller on the continent. Mate, have you seen the size of Scandinavians? Have you seen the size of Scandinavians compared to Scottish players? Even Arne Engels and that looked small against their players last night. You maybe need to travel a bit more, Square Sausage Mick. I always love it how you come up with the Square Sausage Mick channel on this one, but you go with your Ross one on the other one. It's noted, by the way. It is noted. Anyway, I would keep Martin O'Neill to the end of the season, says Paul Baird. I'm not too sure if I'd keep Martin O'Neill to the end of the season, because it then puts us in a precarious position. And if we think that, look at the summer transfer windows, and that's where the issue lies. The issue lies in the summer transfer window. If we don't get a manager in until July, that's too late. That's far too late. So wait until the end of the season, at the end of May, trying to bring someone in June. With international football the way it is, trying to then get players in, that's too late. Trying to get a manager, and if the manager's not identifying the players, it's game over. You'd be as well sitting us on a roundabout and just spin the roundabout and we'll just go again with the same nonsense. Because that's what you're allowing the board to do. If you want to put pressure on the board and get the board to leave, we need to put pressure on them now. We need to put more pressure on them now. Because if we don't, and you just keep Martin O'Neill at the summer, the board are going, yeah, well done, Martin. You've won us a couple of things. Don't worry about Europe. It's not a big concern. The board are then winning. So, it's time to stand up and be counted. We're going to go into an international break after this weekend. That's another 2 weeks that the Celtic board will get a freebie. They'll get a free pass. Because no one will turn up to Celtic Park to protest. Nobody will be there on a daily basis to protest. You had Celtic fan media at an event at a Celtic shop, invited by Celtic to go and promote merchandise, when the same Celtic fan media are saying boycott, and there's meant to be a boycott of merch, but yeah, let's go along and we'll promote the stuff on behalf of Celtic. We're all over the place as a fan base. You could say Messi and Ronaldo, our fans would still moan, yeah, they would, mate. And it's always the same. It is always the same. After a defeat, I do see the peaks and troughs when it comes to the when it comes to the day after, the night before. I'd keep O'Neill for the final in December. Yeah. But as most of our players are not Scandinavian, they were bought cheap from all around the world. Eddie, most of the players, if you didn't watch watch the reaction video for last night, and you'll see where most of their players are from. There's very few of them from Denmark. Very few. And that's my point. So go back and watch that video for last night, and you'll see exactly how much each one of their players are worth. And if you look at the little flags on, you'll see where they come from. And there's a lot of them are way more physical, taller and stronger than the Celtic squad. A lot of people saying keep O'Neill for the final in December. I mean, come on, it's not the final in December. It's a game that Celtic should expect to win, no matter what manager's in. You have to get them. You have to get a new manager in before. If you want a manager, the transfer window's just round the corner. Then bringing in a new manager in December, he's going to walk in. Right, here's my problem with that, and my issue with that. He then walks into Celtic Park, and Celtic goes to him. Here's a list of transfer targets. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. I want a manager to come in now and assess the players. Keep Fozzie at the club. Because I tell you one thing, his rant to Martin O'Neill about the players after the game last night, if that didn't go unnoticed on the telly, I tell you that. Notice that nobody's really talking about it, but fuck me, he was giving it to Martin O'Neill. He was telling him exactly what he thinks of some of these players. And it was none too nice by the looks of it. My issue with waiting till December to bring in a new manager is it doesn't give a new manager time to assess the squad. If Martin O'Neill's asked for a report card on the players by the next manager, Martin O'Neill will say, look, I've not had enough time to work with them. Ask Sean Maloney. Ask Fozzie. He only needs 2 weeks with players. I'm starting to like the fact that he's in the background because he's complete opposite for John Kennedy. And he's not scared to fucking tell players exactly what he thinks of them. But getting back to the manager's position, when we look at the potential managers that have been linked with Celtic and the one who went favourite last night, I think that for me, Knutsen is a good manager, but there's too much of a Brendan Rodgers about him. The way that he's now arguing with people in the media, and he's in the country. He's arguing about schedules. He's arguing about players. You know, he's saying that the players are tired. It's too much like Brendan Rodgers. For me, McKenna is a standout if we can get him. Wilfred Nancy at 14-1, Damien Duff 14-1, Craig Bellamy. I mean, they're all ones that are fanciful. Kevin Muscat 16-1, that's not going to happen. Marco Rose 16-1, can't see that. Michael Carrick 16-1. He was a good midfield player. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Scott Brown 18-1, Eric Ten Hag. God, could you imagine if we went out and got Eric Ten Hag? That would be a laugh, wouldn't it? But it is all about where do we see ourselves? God, even Neil Lennon's 33-1. Who the hell's putting money on Neil Lennon? Henrik Larsson's 50-1. Roy Keane's 40-1. Sean Dyche, he's not going to. He's just taking a job. But anyway, when you look at it, Celtic need to do something quick. Celtic need to do something real quick, because the longer we leave it, Knutsen isn't going to lower up himself to Celtic. Behave. Go top 4 league. Not to the 18th ranked. Knutsen's on the verge of leaving Bodo Glimt. He's on the verge of leaving Bodo Glimt. All the noises that are coming out of that country is that he is on the verge of leaving. If you do some digging in the media over there, what price is Brendan Rodgers, says Mo. Wind up merchant. I was backing McKenna to take over, and now we're thinking about actually, I'm thinking he would actually be good for us. He's got all the attributes, bringing in younger players. We need someone that has connections. We need to be look at that stadium last night. Tiny little stadium, nice little stadium. Nice little ultra section behind the goals. They've got a fantastic recruitment policy. You need to look at the recruitment department and who these people are and how they identify players. If I'm anyone at the top level at Celtic, the first thing I do today is you go, right, how come they do well in the Champions League and we don't? What's the player profile that they're looking at that we're not? What can we take that's good from them that isn't good at Celtic? Because unless we change things quickly, we're just going to rinse and repeat. Scottish football is an embarrassment in Europe. Did Aberdeen not get a good result last night? McKenna's the most realistic choice. The others are our dreams. Well, you need to dream big, I think. You have to dream big. Because if you don't dream big, you don't get to where you want to in life. You've got to have dreams. Trust me. You've got to have dreams that people go, fuck off, that will never happen. And then when you do it and it does happen, you could sit back and go, well, I told you I was going to do it. I told you I was going to do it. That we don't have people like that at Celtic. That's the issue. And that gets back to we need boardroom change quick. With only one game at Celtic Park between now and the end of the month, Celtic are going to get away with a complete freebie. It's okay having people outside demonstrating on a match day, but they're going into another international break. We play Kilmarnock this weekend. There will be demonstrations outside Celtic Park this weekend again. And then the 22nd of November, we're away to St Mirren. 27th, we're away to Feyenoord. By that time, the end of the month, the 30th of the month, we're away to Hibs. It's December before we're back at Celtic Park. Yet people are saying, we need change now. Nobody's going to be at Celtic Park. The board have got a get out of jail free they've gone round the Monopoly board and they've just got the fucking go straight to go. As you were. The board are not worried about demonstrations, boycotts or nothing. They're not worried about it at all. Because they know that no one will be at Celtic Park after this weekend until the 3rd of December. And there lies the problem. So all we're doing is we're kicking it further and further down the line. And that's not a movement for change. That's not a movement for change. Sorry, but it's not. People protest if they want change. And we're not. In December, we've got quite a few games at home. December, you've got Dundee at Celtic Park. You've got Hearts at Celtic Park. We've got Roma at Celtic Park. We're then away again to Hampden. The 14th of December. 14th of December, we play St Mirren at Hampden. And people are saying, keep Martin O'Neill till then. I would rather get a manager in so he can assess the players over the next number of games. So that if he does go, do you know what? You brought me in here to change this club. and to make it better and to improve everything. This is what we need. And these are the players that I want. Because unless we do get a manager that's going to come in and say that, like Brendan Rodgers says, all you're going to get is a caretaker. And if it's a caretaker manager you want, I am not the man for you. And he left. Anyway, we've got 170 votes on the poll this morning, with over 1,000 people been on, and that's not too bad in a short space of time. Let me just jump back into the comments and see what some people are saying this morning. At this rate, Martin will be here to the end of the season. Roberto Martinez joins after the World Cup. That's what I'm thinking. But then, you're then expecting Martinez to come in. And who's picking the players? Who's picking the players for the next transfer window? Martin O'Neill said last night, I have nothing to do with the transfer window. I have nothing to do with looking at any players that Celtic need or any positions that Celtic need. That's not an acceptable position for us to be in. If you're accepting the fact that Martin O'Neill is just here as a caretaker, and you're accepting the fact that Martin O'Neill is going to be here at the end of the season on a caretaker basis, he's the old janitor. He's got fucking Trigger's broom. It's fucking Rangers just fucking moaning. This broom's had 24 handles and 10 heads. It's just an excuse, broom. Oh my god. Anyway, how about Martin O'Neill and Sean till the summer about new manager of the Juventus? But that's not going to happen. How can someone from outside, how can a manager that's potentially coming in at the summer see what's needing done? He needs to be on the ground and seeing what's happening on a daily basis. It's alright Martin O'Neill writing a report card, but when you get your report card, the teacher for the next year doesn't even look at the report card. They look at it and go, oh, he talks a lot in class. Right, let's see how we can shut this fucker up. That's it. End of. You move on. Do you know what I mean? It's forgotten about. You need to have your own mind. After the World Cup, it's too late. Yep. Managers don't pick players; they get offered them from the board. It's been like that for 2 decades. Well, that's even more why we need to be protesting at Celtic Park and we need to ring changes, because no big club, no big manager, no top manager in this day and age leaves everything. Do you know, good old fashioned managers watch games of football. Our manager in the past didn't even go to games. What happened to the good old times where you would see a manager go to watch a player? Now we send these scouts and it's data. It's all data. Fucking look what data's done to us. 11 million for Arne Engels. 9 million for Adam Ida. If that's what data is done, then get that fucking laptop and throw it out the fucking window. Because data's not helping us at all. If Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney stay here to June, we're all fucked. Says, yeah, that's a good one. Ray coming in from Vietnam. He got up last night to do a pish, seen the score and went back to bed. I heard Osman was crying because he got hamstring. Yes, he was. He was, and not one Celtic player went over to him. You could see his shoulders. He was lying on the pitch in bits. He knew that injury is going to keep him out towards the end of the season. He knows that and it was devastating. And not one Celtic. Well, the keeper ended up going over to him after a little couple of minutes break. It felt like, but not one of the outfield players went near him. It was disgusting. And for me, shows everything that's been rotten about this club. Bringing in Martin O'Neill was just one big giant sticking plaster of feel-good factor. The feel-good factor was always going to run out. Feel-good factor always runs out at some point. Those few days of positivity were lovely while they lasted. I think just now we enjoy Martin O'Neill, but we need to realise that, it is just a sticking plaster, and we need to get in a manager and look forward to the future. And wait until the summer is far too late. Do we need a new manager? 190 votes, 64% said yes. Do we need the new manager in quick? Should I say was the question. 64% say yes, 36% say no. I'm going to end the poll this morning. Thank you to everyone who has joined the video this morning. We have been running for around about 36 minutes, which isn't too bad. Anyway, it's Friday. There'll be a press conference today, will there not be? Was Martin O'Neill asked about the game of the weekend? I don't think he was he? Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. Have a fantastic day wherever you are, Celtic fans all around the world.